Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining Living Your Best Life with Joe and Bella. This is our Fun Fridays, Our Story, Episode 4. Are you ready for this?
Come on, welcome everybody. Our experience of starting a family. I always wanted children while I was young. I'm the youngest out of 6, so I got to know my dad older. So I always wanted to have children when I was young.
And my parents are super young. Like, they had me when I'm 20 years younger than my dad and 22 years younger than my mom. So I always knew them as my best friend. Like, my mom was always my best friend. So which was not the same case with you.
No, so we a year into our marriage, we got pregnant with our first baby.
Yes, Andy.
Andy. Well, we called him Andy after the fact.
As a matter of fact, the baby was born and we didn't have a name for him.
Right. So we got pregnant, and then it was interesting because we had no clue what we were in for.
No.
And so
we were super excited.
Yeah, and you had interesting moments of cravings this and craving that. But it was fun. We were in Winnipeg. And then getting closer to the hour, you were ready for this.
So yes, it's interesting how God does everything, right? Like, the first 3 months you're super excited, the next 3 months you're like, okay, this is a process, the baby is moving and everything else, and then the last 3 months is like, I want to have this baby.
We want this baby now. Well, I always had sympathy pains throughout the whole thing.
Yes, you did. So anyway, so we had the baby. We planned, obviously, a natural birth, but I had complications. So through the pregnancy, everything was fine, and then when I was in labor, for 22 hours, and I was not dilating. And this is actually a crucial time in our, like, it's a big lesson that God gave me through the birth of Andy, because I was in the hospital in labor. It'd been 22 hours and a lot of pain and absolutely no movement in terms of, like, I was not dilating, things were not progressing, and the doctor said it was going to be another 24 hours before I actually was able to have the baby. And here comes this young girl, I remember so vividly. She must have been like 16, 17, really young girl, and came into the hospital, had a baby, no problem at all. I was like in and out, and I'm still in pain. And at that moment, I got mad and I said, God, where are you? You know, like, I'm serving you. I am your child.
And we had been in this for like 20 some hours, right?
Yes.
So then I said, I'm tired. You know what? I need to go to sleep.
You're tired. He's tired.
I need to go to sleep. So I actually asked the nurses to give me like a cot or something.
Yeah, so they brought you one.
And they were working on you. I mean, I was not going to push anything. You were the one carrying this thing. I was just there for the ride, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, and then I went to sleep.
Because they told us that it was going to be another at least 24 hours.
Right.
And so you actually went to sleep right beside me.
Right.
And the doctor came in and asked to see how I was doing. And I said, you know, like, I'm done. Like, I want this out.
Right.
And we ended up having a C-section. But prior to that, like I was saying, I was upset with God, and I was actually really telling him, like, God, what is this? Why? Because this young girl comes in, has a baby, no problem. Here I am. I'm your servant. Yeah. I do everything that you ask me. I'm a good Christian girl, and yet I'm having all these troubles. Like, something is wrong with this picture, and this is not right. And I was mad at God. And you know what? He could take it, no problem. So here comes the doctor. Asked me. I said, no, I want a C-section. You know, I'm done with this. Waiting 24 hours is not an option. So at that time, they like the operating room is available. They start wheeling me down.
And I was still asleep. And I'm like, I woke up with this commotion. I'm like, where are they taking my wife? I want to go too. Because all I wanted to do is cut the umbilical cord. I was just there to cut the umbilical cord. Well, I tried to help you breathing because we had gone to the Lamaze class. We learned all the breathing. Guess what? That didn't work. None of that worked. that was like down.
I was in so
gone.
much pain. I had 2 epidurals.
So they were wheeling down the hall, and there I was running with all this equipment on me, and mask and hat and gloves and all this stuff. So anyways, when you went for the C-section, then the Lord really spoke to you on that.
So then we hear all this, like C-section, everything is normal. The doctor's talking, and all of a sudden there's all this commotion, and we knew, I knew something was wrong.
Right.
And then more doctors came, and all of this, and then we realized the doctors told us that the baby had the umbilical cord around his neck 3 times.
Right.
And that's why I was not dilating. And if I had natural birth, he would have died.
Right.
So so then we have the C-section, and after, when I first held the baby, the Lord told me, I did not answer your question, because your prayer, because had I answered your prayer, you would have died. You would have cried for the rest of your life. I prefer you crying for a few moments and being happy after than being happy at the time, me answering your prayer and crying for the rest of your life. And that was a lesson that I still carry today, because we do not see the big picture. At that time, I just wanted him to help me out and have this baby naturally. But what I didn't know is if I had the baby naturally like I wanted, I would have had a dead baby. And this way, we can still enjoy. We're enjoying.
Well, God sees the full picture, right?
So
we only see in the moment, but God sees the whole thing, and He knew exactly that. There was the timing for everything. So then we bring this baby home, and there was no manual. I mean, I was 20. What do I do with this? So we just had to learn how to navigate through the process and change diapers and all of that. So that was the beginning of our building our family.
Yes.
When did I go to Bible college? Well, we always wanted to go into ministry. From the early age when I was a kid, I always wanted to serve God, and I didn't know exactly how it all is going to, unfold. But living in the Azores Islands, around nuns and the priest, my sisters and mom worked at the daycare in town. So I was always around the nuns and the priest. So I always had this desire to serve God, but yet being a priest was different because you couldn't have a wife and children.
And you wanted a family.
And I wanted a family. So when I really met God and that process of finding the Lord, then I'm like, oh, I can have both worlds. So the desire to go was always there, but we didn't have much funds.
But before we got married, we always said that we would do whatever we did it together, and that we would not allow anything to kind of keep us apart. So we've always tried. We tried to go to a Bible college together, but we were not able to financially to afford that. So we had Andy. Andy was 2 when we were like, okay, this is not going to happen. It was too expensive to go to Bible college here in Canada. It was expensive to go to Bible college in Portugal. So we decided, okay,
the opportunity came in. We're like, oh, let's buy our home.
Well, because I was working for the Royal Bank, and they would there was a portion of the down payment that they would be providing, and so we decided that we were gonna, since we're not going to Bible college, we're not going to be able to afford to go somewhere without being to work. So we decided to buy a house, and we were so excited.
So 2 weeks into our new home,
we had just moved in, and we're kind of crazy when we move in. We go all.
Oh my gosh,
all
we didn't
out.
sleep.
So we had just unpacked
everything. Yeah.
2 weeks into the house.
And then I'm driving home from work, and I had picked up Bella from the bank, and the Lord says, I want you to go to Bible college, back to Portugal, overseas. And I'm like, oh God, you got to talk to her, because if you want me to go, we've got a baby, we've got a brand new home, and we have no money to go to Bible college. So I'm battling with the Lord with this. So I remember I parked on the driveway.
But this is all you and the Lord. It's not vocalizing or not talking about this.
God. And I would park on the driveway, and we stopped for a moment in the car, And then I had all this in my mind, was battling with God, and I didn't know.
And all of a sudden, out of my mouth,
Right.
it comes, Joe, you have to go to Bible college by yourself.
I'm like, what?
And the moment that
You
these
say
words
what?
came out of my mouth, I'm like,
Right.
who said that?
Right.
Because it wasn't me.
So it was cool because when I asked God to speak to you, he spoke to me, and I'm like, well, you've got to confirm with Bella, because we have a child, and we have a brand new home, and we're building this thing, and now you want us to do what? You want us to really, he was stretching our faith right there.
Yes,
and
because
then.
we had just bought the house.
2 weeks prior.
We had a little a boy, 2 years old, and I was working, and we didn't have extra funds
No.
for you to go to Portugal or
Right.
anything like that. But the moment it was so clear, when God speaks,
Right.
and it was just so clear that you had to go.
Right.
And at that moment, we didn't know how.
Yeah.
We didn't know how was it possible, but at that moment, it didn't matter how it was possible, because when he spoke, we knew that was going to happen.
He confirmed, and then he confirmed my heart, confirmed in your heart, and then we said, God, if you say it, we're gonna walk by faith, and we're gonna trust that you're gonna provide. And then suddenly, my boss at work, when I said that this is what I wanted to do, he gave me a bonus, and then
that was what we needed for you to buy the ticket to go to Portugal.
Right.
We had no money for Bible college at all, like
No.
tuition, nothing.
Nothing.
We had no money for him for you to fly to Portugal.
Right.
So that money was for the flight, and now we still have a brand new house that we still have to pay, and tuition for you to go to Portugal.
So how are we gonna do this? So we thought, okay, maybe we need to sell our home. So that was a miracle on its own.
So I just talked to a friend of mine at work,
At
a
work.
co-worker,
Yeah.
and I was just telling her about this. I was sharing about the Lord, about how everything just switched in. Like, we had the house that we always wanted. This is brand new house, beautiful home, and all of a sudden the Lord is asking us to leave for
Right.
you to go to Portugal to Bible college. So we're gonna have to sell. And she's like, "Oh, I'm looking for a house," and she had confirmed, and they came to see the house. And
Within days.
it was crazy because
the
they liked
household.
the house, but they had to check into finances,
Yeah.
lawyer, and everything else. Well, long story short, the house sold the day before you left to
That's
Portugal.
right. And then on the day,
And okay, so this is in the middle of August. Like, we bought the house beginning of August. This is in the middle of August, it's about around the 15th of August, and you have to be in Portugal for the beginning of September.
Right.
So we're not talking about months. We're talking about a couple
Like,
of weeks to do all of
we're talking
this.
about days. So now I'm leaving this evening to Portugal, and we still have no money for tuition and for what I need.
It was totally trusting him.
In school. So that afternoon, the Lord provided.
For your first month's tuition.
Yes. So it was like, as soon as we said yes to the Lord and to what He wanted,
Every door just started
every
opening
door
up.
opened, because we said, well, we don't have it, but you have it, and we'll trust you. So we stayed there. I mean, I went to Bible college in Portugal, and then did my.
I packed the house. I had another 2 weeks to pack
Yeah.
the house. And we sold
Yeah,
the house.
we sold the
So
house.
basically, we owned the house for 1 month.
Yeah. It's awesome. Call us crazy, but hey, this is living our best life. In every step, in everything that we have done, we always do it, in faith, trusting God, hearing His voice, because He says in His Word, He ordains the steps of the righteous. So as long as we are following His steps, He will guide us into every
So true.
breakthrough and victory. So it was great, and
So I stayed behind. I was working, was able to pay for your Bible
So Bella
college.
stayed. You stayed at working, and at the bank, making money to pay for the Bible college. Then you went to visit me for about 3 weeks, and we had a blast. And that was great, and it was awesome. Made great friends, and that was the beginning of getting ready for ministry.
That's right.
Yeah. When did ministry start? Ministry started right after Bible college. I mean, we just hit the ground running. We
Yeah.
became youth leaders at our local church. You were still working at the bank. You continued working at the bank.
We're serving at the local church. We're part of a worship team.
Yeah.
Leading worship. All
Cleaning
that
the church,
stuff.
everything. Yeah. I even got an evening job so I could be available during the day.
That's right.
to be available at church to serve in any capacity. I just wanted to serve God.
Because the local church didn't have funds to hire us.
Yeah.
So I was working at the bank. You were working evening job at Justin's.
Yeah, developing school pictures and making grad rings and yearbooks. So that was fun.
Yes.
But then there was this desire that I felt like, you know what? I really wanted to be a missionary. Missions.
Can you imagine me in Africa?
Yeah, and I thought, let's be a missionary in Africa. But suddenly, you became.
So we planned to go to Africa, and we had this missionary that wanted us.
You became pregnant.
He wanted us to go.
Yes.
And we said yes. And then, it takes a process to get everything ready to go and stuff, passports, visas, everything. And I got pregnant, and I couldn't go
with our second son, Joel.
With Joel, and I couldn't go. So you end up going on this ministry trip. There was 5 weeks, and you went by yourself.
I went by myself, and I thought, okay, you know what? This is going to be, since Bella can't go with me, I'm going to go. I'm going to test the waters. I'm going to see how it is, because once we have the baby, we're going to take our 2 kids to Africa, and we're going to be missionaries
in
Africa. Can you see Bella with her bling in high heels and stilettos?
Thank you, Jesus.
In Africa. Whatever you want to take us, God, that's where we're going to go. But anyway, so I was there, and it was like in the bowels of Africa. It was in the bush. Yeah, I had fun, but a couple weeks into it, or 2 or 3 weeks into it, I was hit with I started getting sick, and the missionary thought, oh, you just ate some stuff, but I was so sick that 2 days into it, he said, well, you have malaria, and if we don't treat it, you're going to die tomorrow. I'm like, what? Because if you don't treat malaria, I was told if you don't treat malaria within 3 days, you die, and people were dying. This was 1997. So, he treated me with malaria. I took them. I was taking meds prior and during that trip.
Actually, you went in 1996 because we had Joel in 1997. It was like November 96.
Right. So I was so sick. I had never been that sick in my entire life.
I had no clue about any of this, thank God.
I couldn't call you.
You sent me a postcard, remember?
As soon as I got to South Africa, to Johannesburg, I said, I need to send a postcard to Bella. So I did. So I sent it, and then off I went to Mozambique, in the middle of the jungle, to do missions. So I get sick, and I am so sick. I'm like hallucinating. Fevers are so high. I'm so sick with malaria. So then he gives me these meds. So now I get better. The time finishes, and now I'm back in South Africa, and I have to fly home. So I flew home, and when I got home the day after,
I think it was a week after, no?
Or something.
You were already home when I received the card that you sent 5 weeks before when you arrived in Johannesburg.
Right.
And thank God, I think God just spared me of getting, worrying about you having malaria and all of this.
Right.
So by the time I found out you had malaria, you were already home with me.
Right. So
then, thank God I didn't go with.
Then I said, you know what?
Baby.
I don't think missions
it's for us.
Africa is for us. I don't think so. It was fun, maybe mission trips, but I don't think God was really calling us to the middle of Africa.
So your missions fever is gone.
We still go on mission trips, and I love mission trips, and I love missions, but being a missionary was not my highest calling. Let's say that. But you know what? You fast forward all these years.
You got really sick there, though, while with malaria. That's carried on.
For 11 years. 11 years, I was so sick with my digestive system. I couldn't digest most foods. Every night I would be sick. It was so bad. But in a camp meeting, one night I got healed. God healed me completely from that, and that was 2008. Since 2008, I been healed from that, and
because before you would not be able to be like. Garlic bread, anything with peppers, anything with onions, you would just your stomach would blow up. You would look like you were pregnant.
Yeah, malaria really ruined my digestive system until the Lord healed me. So now we're
to 1997.
Now we're in Winnipeg. We have 2 kids, and then life goes on, and suddenly the Lord says, "Well, it's time to move out of Winnipeg, out of Manitoba," and that's when our whole entire life changes and we have to pack and move from the comfort of where we met,
our
got
parents
married,
were there,
our family
families
was
were
there, and now we have to move on to where God is leading us into.
with a 5-year-old and the 1-month-old.
So
Because Joel was a month old.
So stay tuned for our next episode of Living Your Best Life.
Medyo na.
Yes, and our story continues into our next chapter in adventure. So we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for subscribing to our channel. Don't
Yes.
forget to press that little
Bell.
bell. And we appreciate you, and be blessed.
And be a blessing.